Happy Thursday, friends. We've almost made it to the weekend, day and a half, and the weekend is here, thank God. It's been a long week. Hopefully your week has gone a lot better. We got a lot. We're going to do our weekend preview show, week 10. Man, we're already at week 10 of the season. It's been going by fast, I guess because of all the good games we've had this year. Before we get started, we're going to do some news. Got a lot of news items to get to. Hit that little subscribe button so you don't miss anything. I think the major news, I'm sure most of you have heard by now. Legendary basketball coach Bobby Knight passes away at age 83. Evidently, he's been in poor health for the last several years. Was hospitalized last April with some illness. I don't know. They didn't say what it was, but he passed away. Legend in the game. A little controversy with the guy. Some of his antics we've all seen, throwing chairs and stuff like that. And some of his former players didn't really like his coaching methods. I think he choked a guy one time or something. I don't know. It's been so long, I completely forgot about all that. But he became the youngest Division I coach at Army, age 24 years old. Man, that is something else. He went on to Indiana, where he won 661 games. Went to the NCAA tournament 24 out of 29 seasons. Won 3 national titles, including 1976, where they went undefeated the whole season. I don't think that's ever been done before, or since then. I don't think it has. I could be wrong, but I think that's a record that still stands. Also won a national championship as a player in 1960 at Ohio State. Played in 3 Final Fours during his playing days. Coached in 5 of them over his coaching career. Won 11 Big Ten titles there at Indiana. Coached the 84 Olympic team to gold medal. Finished his career at Texas Tech. Led them to 5 20-win seasons. Pretty impressive. I believe he's 6th on the all-time wins list for college basketball coaches. Left Indiana. They got kind of tired of his antics, and he wasn't really winning as much like he was. But I want to say he rekindled that relationship with Indiana. They kept inviting him back. Hey, let's patch this up. He kept saying no. And if I believe, because he lived in Lubbock for a while after Texas Tech, after he got done coaching. But I think he moved back to Bloomington, Indiana, and near the campus. So I think he patched things up with Indiana. Not too sure about that. But rest in peace, Bobby Knight. Man, one of the legends of the game have gone. CFP top 10, did you see? Or CFP playoff rankings came out. Did you see them the other night? Do you have a problem with it? I don't know if I do or not. Anyway, your top 10 are number 1, Ohio State, number 2, Georgia, 3, Michigan, 4, Florida State, 5, Washington, 6, Oregon, 7, Texas, 8, Alabama, 9, OU, 10, Ole Miss. Of course, we know those things are going to change. Ohio State and Michigan got to play each other. Georgia's got a couple tough games coming up. Washington definitely does. We'll see how it all pans out. Central Michigan, they are investigating photos showing Michigan staffer Connor Stalions on the sideline, decked out in Chippewa gear during the season opener against Michigan State, possibly illegally scouting and stealing Spartan signs. In the photo, he is wearing Michigan or Central Michigan apparel that is only issued by the team. Jim Harbaugh says, let's just let it all play out. Evidently, yesterday, the Big Ten coaches got together on a conference call or Zoom or something and told the commissioner, hey, something needs to be done about this. Something needs to be said. What are you going to do about it? So far, I don't think any answers yet. Hey, last week, Colorado goes to UCLA. They lose. And 5 players got jewelry stolen out of their lockers in the locker room there at the Rose Bowl. Dion says he wants the NCAA or Rose Bowl to reimburse him. He says, Rose Bowl granddaddy of them all, right? I'm sure Granddaddy has some money. Grandpa should have money to give to these kids to reimburse them. So, whether or not that happens, that remains to be seen. Did you hear what happened to Dabo on his radio show? Some guy, I think his name is Tyler from Spartanburg, called in and questioned Dabo why he's making $11.5 million to go 4-4. Hey, legitimate question. They're paying this guy out the ass. He's got a 4-4 season. Frankly, I wish some Aggie fans would call up Jimbo and ask him that. So, oh well. After listening for 2 minutes, Dabo fired back saying, I've listened to enough of you. You can have all your opinions. I don't know how old you are. I don't care. But let me tell you something. We won 11 games last year, and you are part of the problem. People like you who think the expectations are greater than the appreciation. That's the problem. He went on also for 5 minutes saying, you can apply for this job. Good luck to you. I started as the lowest paid coach in the business, and I am where I am because I've worked my butt off, and I ain't going to let some smart-ass kid get on the phone and create this stuff. So if you have a problem with it, I don't care. And there's a lot more online. He went into his upbringing and how he's got these degrees, and he just went off on this guy. But hey, how many of you are like in a situation like me, and Tyler, I guess his name is, or another Clemson fan? Your coach is getting paid out the ass and your season sucks. All right? Being an Aggie fan, I've been experiencing that the last few years. The guy's getting all this money, and team, I don't even know if you call it mediocre, because they didn't even make a bowl game last year. So I'm all about this. Hey, if your team ain't producing, call that coach up on the radio show and ask him how he justifies making all that money when your team sucks. So, sorry, Dabo, I'm not on your side on this one. Ohio State running back Meehan Williams, he's out for the season. Surgery, undisclosed, didn't see what it was. Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz says it's time to move forward after it's announced his son will not return as OC for Iowa. So it still remains. I wonder if he's going to retire after this year. I mean, I don't know. He's been there a long time. He's getting up there in years, but hey, if he still enjoys coaching and they still want him, go for it. Florida, they will be without leading tackler Shurmur. I think that's how you say it. Shurmur James. Rest of the season, he had left knee surgery. Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall, he'll be out this week due to concussion. They play Old Dominion this week. We have some games this week so far. Tuesday, Central Michigan beat Northern Illinois 32-31, or 37-31, I'm sorry. Toledo, they're 8-1 now, having a great season, beat Buffalo 31-13. Jaquez Stewart, in that game, 97-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Both those games, it was snow and ice. I didn't see the games last night, so I don't know if they were snow or ice, but they're up north also. Bowling Green beat Ball State 24-21. Akron beat Kent State 31-27. All right, so let's get down to the schedule here. Tonight, 4-4 TCU versus 3-5 Texas Tech, 6 p.m., Fox Sports 1. They're pretty even across the board when it comes to passing and rushing. 4-4 Wake Forest versus 5-3 Duke, 6:30 ESPN. Will Riley Leonard play, and how effective will he be? I think that's probably the question. Actually, I think I heard he's going to play, but see how effective he is. 4-4 South Alabama versus 6-2 Troy, 6:30 ESPN2. South Alabama's actually better in the yardage categories across the board, but Troy's got the better record, but we'll see. Tomorrow night, 5-3 Boston College versus 4-4 Syracuse, 6:30 p.m. ESPN2. BC has the better passing game. Syracuse is better at rushing. 3-5 Colorado State versus 5-3 Wyoming, 7 p.m. CBS Sports. Wyoming, better rushing game. And Colorado State, better passing game, which surprised me. I thought Wyoming had the better passing game. All right, so Saturday, get down to the slate. 11 a.m. ABC. 7-2 Notre Dame versus 4-4 Clemson against Dabo and his millions of dollars. Both teams are pretty even in the rushing and passing game. That surprised me. I thought Notre Dame would be better in the passing game. 11 a.m. ACC Network, 4-4 Campbell versus 6-2 North Carolina. Can Tar Heels turn it around? And which North Carolina team are we going to get? 11 a.m. CBS 8-0 Ohio State versus 6-2 Rutgers. Not bad for a morning game. Ohio State does have the better passing game. Rutgers is slightly better in the rushing game. 11 a.m. Big Ten Network 5-3 Wisconsin versus 2-6 Indiana. Indiana has a great defense. Their offense just can't quite catch up to them. 11 a.m. Fox Sports 1 5-3 Nebraska versus 2-6 Michigan State. When does Michigan State turn things around? Does it happen this year? Or do they wait and get a new coach and do it next year? I don't know. Crazy. Oh, Nebraska is turnover happy, too. 19 turnovers this year so far. 11 a.m. ESPN 2, 2-6 Arkansas versus 5-3 Florida. I kind of feel bad for KJ Jefferson. I really feel like he's on the wrong team. I mean, he's a good quarterback. Does hold the ball a little too long, sometimes stay in the pocket a little too long. But there's a lot of teams that would love to have him. And I feel just like his talent's been wasted there at Arkansas. 11 a.m. ESPNU, 7-2 Jacksonville State at 2-6 South Carolina. Jacksonville, better rushing. South Carolina, better passing. 11 a.m. SEC Network, 1-7 UConn versus 6-2 Tennessee. UConn averages 316 yards a game. 11 a.m. ESPN, 5-3 Texas A&M. Them and their $1 million coach, who's mediocre, going to 7-1 Ole Miss. Ole Miss, better passing and rushing game. 11 a.m. on Fox. This could be a really good one here. 6-2 Kansas State versus 7-1 Texas. We've seen over the years, Kansas State does give Texas fits. They really do. Both of them are pretty close though. Yardage, passing, and all total yards, all that stuff. That could be a really good game. That one or the Ohio State Rutgers game. Both of those could be really good in the morning. 12 p.m. ESPN Plus 2-5 Kennesaw State versus 0-8 Sam Houston. Sam Houston, who switched from FCS, is finding out that FBS is a lot tougher than it looked. But they are competitive in these games. They're just kind of like Hawaii and Arkansas and a couple others. They're just not scoring enough on offense to win. But they are competitive in these games. They're not blowouts. They're losses. 1 p.m. CW Network, 4-4 Georgia Tech versus 2-6 Virginia. Interesting game because both of them are improved and are on a roll. 1 p.m. ESPN Plus, 3-4 Navy versus 2-6 Temple. Navy better rushing. Temple's got the better passing game. 1 p.m. Pac-12 Network, 2-6 Arizona State, 6-2 Utah. You know Utah is pissed. Sun Devils, they do give teams a fit this year, even though they're not that good. But and like I said, Utah's pissed. They did one, so we'll see how that one works. 1:30 CBS Sports, 2-6 Army versus 8-0 Air Force. Air Force better rushing. Army slightly better in the passing game. 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 5-3 Louisiana at 4-4 Arkansas State. Louisiana does have the better rushing game. Red Wolves have the better passing game in this one. 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 4-4 South Florida versus 6-2 Memphis. Both these teams are close in the yardage categories. 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 5-3 UTSA versus 3-5 North Texas. This was actually a good game a couple of years ago, but times change. UTSA's quarterback, Frank Harris, he's kind of off this year. I don't know what's going on there. Let's see. 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 4-4 Florida Atlantic versus 2-6 UAB. UAB is better in all the categories, but we'll see. 2:30 p.m. Fox, 7-1 Penn State versus 5-3 Maryland. Maryland has lost 3 in a row, starting with that Ohio State game earlier last month. Just not a good month for October for Maryland. I don't know what the deal is with them. Kind of like Syracuse. They start off really good and get to October and they start losing games. 2:30 p.m. ESPN, 8-0 Florida State versus 2-6 Pitt. Pitt only averaging 313 yards a game. Still want to know what the hell's happened to Pitt. They're such a good team for a while. 2:30 ABC, Bedlam. Could be for the last time, at least for a while. 7-1 Oklahoma versus 6-2 Oklahoma State. This is usually a damn good game every year. OU has the quarterback Dylan Gabriel, 2,302 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, thrown 4 picks, but that's not bad. But the Cowboys have the running back, Ollie Gordon the third, I think it is, 1,807 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. So who will prevail, the passing game or the running game in that one? 2:30 on Big Ten Network, 3-5 Illinois versus 5-3 Minnesota. Two Big Ten teams whose expectations have not been met. They're just not good teams. 2:30 on Peacock, 6-2 Iowa versus 4-4 Northwestern. Even in the rushing game, Northwestern better in the passing game. I would not be surprised if Northwestern won this game. They're at home. Much improved this year, much improved over last year. And like I said before, who would have thought they'd be 4-4 right now? I figured they would be 0-8. I really did after all the crap that happened in the summer. Gave Penn State a game, beat Maryland. Iowa, we know they're not scoring a lot of points lately. Keep an eye on that one. Northwestern could pull that one out. Let's see. 2:30, CBS. Ooh, the big one. 7-1 Missouri at 8-0 Georgia. Both have good quarterbacks, running game, and wide receiver core. Both of them are good straight across. Georgia is about 30 yards better, though, in the passing and the rushing game. They do have that. There's a 60-yard difference in total yards between the two teams and what they average each game. So that's going to be a really good one. 2:30 ESPN Plus, Houston versus Baylor. Both are 3-5. 2:30 on FS1. 3-5 UCF versus 2-6 Cincinnati. 2:30 ESPNU. 7-1 Tulane versus 1-7 East Carolina. 2:30 ACC Network. 4-4 Louisville versus 4-4 Virginia Tech. Louisville better rushing, better passing, more total yards than Vautech. 2:30 ESPN Plus. 4-4 Merrimack versus 2-7 UMass. Hey, if you're a Merrimack alumni or UMass alumni, there's your game. It's on ESPN Plus. 2:30 ESPN Plus. 5-3 Coastal Carolina versus 4-4 Old Dominion. Like I said, Grayson McCall's more than likely is not going to play, concussion. 2:30 ESPN2. 8-0 James Madison versus 6-2 Georgia State. It's one to keep on the iPad or the phone to keep an eye on while you're watching something else. Two great quarterbacks. Georgia State's Carroll, 1,060 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns. He's a hell of a quarterback. 3 p.m. on Spec, whatever Spec is, I'm not sure. 2-7 Hawaii, to 2-6 Nevada. So 3 p.m. SEC Network, 4-4 Auburn at 2-7 Vandy. 3 p.m. ESPN Plus, 2-6 La Monroe at 1-7 Southern Miss. 3 p.m. ESPN Plus, 2-6 Charlotte at 3-5 Tulsa. 4 p.m. ESPN Plus, 6-2 Georgia Southern at 5-3 Texas State. Both this game's got two great quarterbacks in it. 4:30 Pac-12 Network, 3-5 Cal versus 7-1 Oregon. They are even in the rushing game, but the Ducks have a way better passing game. But Cal's been giving people fits this year. Will they give Oregon fits? I don't know. They're playing in Eugene. But hey, you never know. Cal and Arizona, much improved Pac-12 teams than they have been the last few years. Now they're just waiting for Stanford to catch back up. 5 p.m. ESPN Plus, 6-3 New Mexico State versus 2-6 Middle Tennessee. Aggies going for that 7th win. They've already probably locked in the 2nd consecutive bowl game. Now they're going for a 7th win. See if they can do that this year. 5 p.m. Mountain West Network. I used to have the Mountain West Network. I used to watch it all the time. Switch services. Now I don't have it. But anyway, 6-2 UNLV at 3-5 New Mexico. 5 p.m. on the NFL Network. Marshall versus Appalachian State. Both 4-4. That's crazy. Appalachian State's 4-4. 5 p.m. CBS Sports, 8-0 Liberty versus 3-6 Louisiana Tech. Liberty only averages 281 yards a game, but yet they're 8-0. Is that just not crazy? I mean, that is just crazy. 6 p.m. Fox Sports 1, 5-3 BYU versus 5-3 West Virginia. BYU's got a horrible rushing game. They only average 81 yards a game rushing. Looks like I have another decent one. 6 p.m. ESPN, 6-2 Kansas versus 5-3 Iowa State. And what we've seen over the last several years, a lot of teams' dreams derail in Ames, Iowa. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's loud there or the cold or what, but a lot of teams that shouldn't lose up there in Ames. That's crazy. 6 p.m. Fox Sports 2. It is Utah State versus San Diego State, both 3-5. Utah State's usually a good team. Well, actually, both of them usually have great seasons. How they're 3-5 this year. Injuries, I guess. 6:30 on NBC. 2-6 Purdue versus 8-0 Michigan. Things just get tougher for the Boilermakers. If Michigan's minds and game is off because of all this off-field stuff going on, hey, Purdue can score points. You never know. So, don't know if that's going to happen, but hey. 6:30 ABC, we've got a couple of big ones. 8-0 Washington versus 7-2 USC. Great offensives. Washington's offense is a little better. Mediocre defenses. They really are. Both of them have mediocre defenses. Mediocre run games, too. Except when the quarterback takes off. Washington, a little bit better in the passing game. Penix Jr., almost 3,000 yards. Caleb Williams, 2646 yards. This could be just a flip of the coin. It really could be. You know, have to wait and see what happens. 6:30 SEC Network, 5-3 Kentucky versus 4-4 Mississippi State. 6:30 ESPNU, 6-2 SMU versus 4-4 Rice. 6:45 CBS Sports. CBS doing their primetime game. 6-2 LSU. Versus 7-1 Alabama. LSU, better rushing, better passing. They average more total yards a game. May come down to defense because even though both defenses are a little suspect, Alabama's is a lot better. I mean, LSU's secondary, I mean, if you want to win, just throw all day because their secondary is not the best I've ever seen. And may just come down to defense because both of them, LSU's offense could score a little better than Alabama, but we've seen Alabama scoring, so they come down to defensive play now, and we'll see. 7 p.m. ACC Network doesn't get easier for North Carolina State. 6-2 Miami comes to town. Miami's got the better rushing and passing game, but you know, we'll see. 8 p.m. Pac-12 Network 2-6 Stanford at 4-4 Washington State. Remember that game last month or 2 months ago, maybe? We called it the bowl for teams, good teams nobody wanted. Washington State and Oregon State. They were both undefeated. Washington State beat Oregon State. Since that game, Washington State has lost 4 straight. So Oregon State's still going strong, but yeah, Washington State 4 straight losses. 8 p.m. ESPN Plus 4-4 Western Kentucky at 3-6 UTEP. 9 p.m. ESPN 6-2 Oregon State versus 4-4 Colorado. 9 p.m. CBS Sports 6-4 Boise at 7-1 Fresno State. And to close out your evening, 9:30 late game FS1 6-2 UCLA versus a much improved 5-3 Arizona team. Arizona's giving people fits this year. The close in yardage numbers, like I said, Arizona's a lot more improved team. So that could be a good late night game, UCLA at Arizona. We'll see. All right, so what we got here? FCS. Let's go over some of these top FCS teams and their games. That playoff picture is starting to really come together. 11:30 ESPN Plus, 6-1 Harvard at 2-5 Columbia. 11:30 ESPN Plus, 3-5 Colgate versus 7-1 Lafayette. 12 noon ESPN Plus, 3-4 Cornell at 5-2 Penn. 12 o'clock noon on Flow, which I don't think I've ever watched anything on Flow. Maybe I have. 4-4 Elon versus 7-1 Delaware. Same time on Flow, 6-2 Villanova versus 4-4 New Hampshire. Same time on Flow, 6-2 or 5-3 William and Mary versus 6-3 Albany. Same time, but on ESPN Plus, 12 noon ESPN Plus. 6-2 Davidson at 3-5 Stetson. 12:30 ESPN Plus, 7-1 Furman versus 7-2 Chattanooga. That would be a good one. Another good one, 1 p.m. ESPN Plus, 6-2 South Dakota versus 6-2 Southern Illinois. 1 p.m. ESPN Plus, 6-3 Butler versus 3-5 Morehead State. 1 p.m. ESPN Plus, 6-3 Mercer going to Citadel, 0-8 Citadel. 12:30 ESPN Plus, 7-1 Florida A&M versus Alabama A&M. 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 3-5 Northern Arizona versus 6-2 Montana State. 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 2-6 Texas Southern at 6-3 Jackson State. 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 6-2 Idaho versus 0-8 Northern Colorado. 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 6-2 North Dakota State Bison versus 8-0 South Dakota State. Man, what a great game that would be. Too bad it's not on TV. You got to pay for it. 2:30 ESPN Plus, 2-6 Norfolk State versus 7-1 North Carolina Central. 3 p.m. ESPN Plus, 3-4 Nichols State versus 7-1 Incarnate Word. Another good late night one, but it's on ESPN Plus. 7 p.m. 6-2 Sacramento State versus 7-1 Montana. That is it. Got a day and a half left until the weekend. Y'all stay busy. Weekend will get here soon. Stay safe, and we will see you next time.